Oh, yes. Looks where we got us. Gentlemen, and welcome one more time to the show, Mother Fluffers. Neil Pickup here with you in the house. I had to put a bit of a warm Canadian-style top on because, let me tell you now, it is Baltic cold outside, but probably not as cold as it is in Canada, which is the home of tonight's guest. One more time, it's Ryan, the Manitoba Mastiff, Espey, in the house. Mate, it's great to have you back on. Episode number 3. Yeah,
it is great to be back, Neil. It's been a long time.
We were just saying before we came on here that it apparently 2 months since we last spoke, which is amazing to me because it doesn't seem like 2 months. Really doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
But it must be a bit wild because neither of us can remember what we finished on the last show.
Yeah, not really. I don't know where we ended off. We were talking about strongman and that kind of stuff, but...
Well, you'd asked me a moment ago if I'd had a good weekend, what was going on. Not really. A guy that I know well, one of the UK's top strongmen, a fellow called Aaron the Rage Page, unfortunately died of COVID-19 the weekend.
I did see that you posted about that. I did see that, yeah.
Utterly tragic, mate. Yeah. Utterly tragic. Only 31-year-old man. Just... it's hard to know what to say. There are no words with something like that. And Aaron, if you met Aaron, mate, he was a genuine character. Just danced to the beat of his own drum, you know.
Yeah.
But what I personally will always remember about Aaron, he was one of the whenever we did the arena shows, he was one of the blokes that would always be having a bit of a sarcastic dig and cracking a laugh at you. You know, we had a thing going where I'd just say something to him like about his beard or something, you know, as he walked away, and we'd always have a bit of an in gag going every time, and it was cool, you know, it was nice. He was a good dude.
Yeah.
Shocked me, really, actually shocked me because you don't expect that in some. You know, there's a lot of mixed messages out there about COVID-19, isn't there? In terms of some people believe in it, some people don't believe in it.
Now, are you telling me that that was the cause? Was COVID?
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so I understand that was the cause, yes. I mean, the other complications from having caught COVID, so I don't know what they record the cause of death for or anything like that. I obviously had a respect for his family. I don't want to get into sort of the details and so on the on the call, but what I would say is that is, as my understanding is, yes, that is the nature of the situation, which is it's a wake-up call is what it is.
Yeah, I think so.
Because some people it seems to affect moderately. Other people, anything but. And tragic that Aaron was on the dark side of that scale. Really, really sad. Massive loss.
Well, yeah, on that subject, we have the same thing going on over here where there's a lot of people that, you know, they're not taking it seriously or they think it's just a bad cold or it's a flu, but it affects everybody differently, and I think that people need to sit back and respect each other's views and beliefs on things, but also not put each other at risk at the same time.
Yeah, it's certainly, when something like that happens, it makes you consider things a bit more differently than you were. I mean, I'd encountered a number of people that had said, oh yeah, I've had it and it's not that bad, and then you get something like this with Aaron and, wow. Reassessment required, I think, mate.
Yeah, I think so.
Anyway, we should move on to arm wrestling, Ryan. And from our last episode, we did have a number of questions. And one recurring question came up, and I don't know whether this is something you'd be overly happy to discuss or not, but the question was around what happened to the show that you were doing recently, Armed Crossfire, or Arm Crossfire, which actually came on that show. And I know a number of sort of people from the sport of arm wrestling, high-profile athletes you had on there. Travis, Devon, Michael Todd, Justin Bishop, to name but a few, you know.
Well, you're wrong about one of those names, because Devon would never come on that show.
I thought he came, or was it? No, it wasn't. It was the one prior to that, wasn't it, right, with Joe involved and so on. Drellick and yeah. But excuse me, but you had Travis on there, you had Monster Mike on there, you had, well, a lot of guys, that came to the show to discuss things. But the questions were all, ask Ryan what happened there. Now, I understand that may or may not be something you want to discuss, mate, and either way, that's fine. It's just, it was one of the questions.
I am perfectly willing to discuss what happened there. And it's going to be a bit of a letdown for people because there's nothing super dramatic. There's a lot of comments online about, towards Chris Gobby about Espey dropped him, all that kind of stuff, and because of this, because of that. None of that happened. So I got a little burnt out with it. There was a lot of things that I had to do behind the scenes. The channel was growing a little bit, but, it kind of became like work because nobody's schedule ever lined up, and the struggle, right, of lining up shows, and kind of stuff, and doing the editing and all that. And I felt like it was a little bit lopsided, but that's neither here nor there. And we got to the point where a few things were going on. So there was that. There was the fact that Chris Gobby is on the show in front of the camera or in person is an amazing guy. He's a good guy. But some of the stuff that gets posted on social media is a little bit cringeworthy. And I don't agree with a lot of the things said. And in fact, when it starts to reflect upon me, which it may or may not have at some point. Sorry, my cell phone's going off like crazy. My work's trying to get a hold of me, and they can just wait. But they... it just became a thing where I thought, what, let's take a break from it and let's see what happens. And then we're in the thick of COVID. We did the Mike Gould episode and we decided we were going to take a break, and the break just turned into a very long, never ending one. And I will tell you this, literally from the time we ended the show with Mike Gould, which posted today on my regular channel, from that moment, I have not spoken to Chris Gobby in any way. We have not had a message exchanged. We have not commented on each other's stuff. There has been zero communication.
So were yourself and Chris friends before the show, mate? How did it sort of come about in that respect? Because obviously I know that Chris had a different show prior to that. With Herman Stevens and Joseph. And then there was a bit of an issue there with Joseph and Chris. But how did it come about with yourself and Chris? What, were you good mates prior to that, or where did I'll expand on the whole story. So Gobby and I knew each other from years past. We went to Japan together. He was a part of Team Canada when we went to the Worlds. Yeah.
And as arm wrestling evolved and the internet became more of a thing, there was the Northeast message board. And I was by Salas, and when Gobby was starting to do his kind of troll personality, I was the victim of it at one point. And I had blocked him from all of social media and all that kind of stuff for a time.
Mm-hmm.
And ironically enough, Gobby and I had not spoken, and the reason that I gave him another opportunity to, not that that's kind of sounds arrogant, the reason we started talking at all, and I decided, hey, maybe this guy is not such a bad guy, is because Devin Larratt gave him an opportunity. And Devin Larratt kind of brought him back into the limelight a little bit with his Bottom 8 tournament that he put on.
Yeah.
And Gobby had started the show, the Arm Hub show with Herman and Joseph. Mm-hmm. And at some point I was still puttering away with my channel, and I was doing these little interviews, and, Gobby, at one point, we did a little back and forth, he and I, and people seemed to enjoy it. And that was while the Arm Hub show was going on. And then Gobby and Drellick had a bit of a falling out where they seemed to really be at each other. And Herman didn't want to do the show without Gobby, and he didn't want to do the show without Joseph. And Joseph and Gobby weren't willing to work together, so that show dissolved. And, my wife actually said, why don't you and Gobby do a show together? So we started this up, and at that point, I never knew that Devin and Gabi had any animosity or falling out or whatever happened there. It's not my story to tell. I got a very high-level overview of it, but I know that on some level it hurt Devin Larratt that I started a show with Chris Gabi, unbeknownst what actually had happened. And things kind of manifested from there. And but then Gabi and I did our show, and that's how it came to pass.
Moving to the sort of present day, mate, obviously now you're involved with Jeff Frank. And Jeff, it seems like, is really getting after it. I mean, you got to take your hat off to the lad. He's putting on excellent events, has put on a number of excellent events, and seems to be looking to do the same again. How's that going? I mean, Jeff's obviously, he's in that stage where he's super enthusiastic, isn't he?
Jeff is, it came along, he was actually on the show twice, on the Arm Crossfire show twice.
Yeah.
When he was running the events, when he had planned the Red Deer Charity Classic, which we know was postponed due to COVID and all that fun stuff.
Yeah.
But then
along with the world.
Along with the rest of the entire. And he, when Arm Crossfire stopped, I was kind of doing my own thing. I was just puttering away, doing the odd show here and there. And Jeff wanted to come on, and he wanted to come on again. And then he suggested that he co-host the show with me. And it kind of like, all right, let's try it out. Let's see what happens. And a few months had gone by since Gabi and I had stopped the show, and I kind of had a bit of a renewed enthusiasm for it. And he's been an amazing partner to have. Not only is he doing a lot of the background work, lining up the guests, all that kind of stuff, doing whatever, but he's also a pretty damn good promoter, putting on these mega events, or he's done at least one so far, and the other one's coming up a week from the day we're recording this, with some marquee matchups. So he's kind of out there killing it and still doing it. He's like the Dana White of arm wrestling. He's making it happen in spite of COVID being a thing. And Jeff and I have been rolling with the show and having some pretty damn good guests on, and we even had the elusive Dave Chafee, because he's not a big fan of these style of interviews.
Yeah, it's a massive shame. I mean, I'd approached Dave a couple of times. I'd love to get Dave on the show and do a sort of deep inside feature with Dave, but just not that type of guy. It's just not his thing, which, you got to respect that. Fair enough. Yeah. I mean, it's a shame because a lot of people believe in him.
I bugged him.
You got him on there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, who are your sort of your favourite hosts of shows and so on? And obviously taking present company out of it, motherfucker, because we know
you got to take you right out of it.
Yeah.
The ones that
well, yeah. So you actually tune into a lot of the shows, do you as well?
I try to watch a lot of them.
Because there's an influx at the moment.
Not all content. So, I usually watch Monster Michael Todd stuff. I tune into, I'm still subscribed to Devin's channel. I mean, I think everybody watches Devin's channel. The thing I like about Devin's channel is they're short shows that I can just grab while, I'm doing whatever,
Yeah.
I still listen to a lot of podcasts and stuff, but, out there.
What about your man, Uncle John? John's firing him out there as well. Another Canadian hombre that's doing his thing. Yeah.
I watch Uncle John, but I don't watch all of Uncle John. Sorry, John. But the reason for that is he puts so much out there that, I don't have enough time to watch it all.
Yeah, he's not playing games. He ain't playing games, is he?
Yeah.
What about the Ginger Ninja, mate? What about Ryan Bowen? Do you tune into Ryan's stuff?
Once in a while. He's another guy that puts so much stuff out there that you can't keep up sometimes. Once in a while, I tune into Ryan's stuff. And I got no beef with Ryan. He actually was on Arm Crossfire. He's a great guy.
He was.
Yeah.
He is a good bloke.
Yeah.
He takes some stick, doesn't he? Ryan takes some abuse. He really does.
Yeah, everybody does. It's everyone that puts himself out there on a channel like this takes a lot of shit, myself included.
You've got to do, mate. It's part and parcel, isn't it? But another set of questions came in, and I've got to get into this because we've got a limited time in the show, and I know that this is one that you can talk about a lot. And we are going to come back a little bit on some of the stuff you just mentioned and all that ties in. You can probably guess what. But first of all, I wanted to discuss top 10 heavyweights of all time with you. Because we talked about it a bit in previous episodes, and we talked about guys you rate very highly. And one of the questions that came in here was, if Ryan was honest, where would he put himself within the greatest Canadian arm wrestlers of all time? And this guy went on to state that he believes that you are extremely underrated due to the fact that you've had a great deal of success. Now, I think I fed something similar to that out in a previous show, but we didn't really get your feedback in terms of where you perceive yourself. I know that in the last episode, you assured us that you didn't think you were finished, but probably the biggest outpouring we got from people who saw your previous two shows was around the fact that they all seemed to believe that you personally underrated yourself as an arm wrestler. And they're sort of getting at, does he really believe that?
Yeah.
Or, what leads to, or what perception, self-perception?
Maybe it's the being overcautious about coming across as arrogant. And I don't want to do that. But I think I'm up there, in the top heavyweight of all time list in Canada. I got to put myself in the top 5 for sure. And I don't know if anyone could really argue about that. I mean, you've got Devin Larratt, but we're on very different paths until now. They're kind of coming back together and intersecting a little bit. Yep. But it's almost, he went one way, I went the other. I went W.A.F, he went to the super match style arm wrestling way earlier than I did. He stayed on that path. I've kind of gone back and forth a few times. You got Gary Goodrich to throw in there. And then let's throw in the smattering of, Sylvain, if you consider him a heavyweight, is definitely on the list. And then you have the Earl Wilsons and Mike Goulds. Mm-hmm. Who else? Len Houghton, perhaps, and Greg Boyce. There's your big list of Canadian super heavyweight guys. I might be missing somebody, but I definitely think I slide in there fairly nicely. Maybe even top 3.
Yeah, I think a lot of people felt that. And another question that came in, mate, was around the old relationship between right and left. Because obviously you're seen as being elite lefty, and you don't necessarily get that same love on the right. But bum right-handed, Ryan, are you? Let's be honest.
No.
You've bum right on your right arm.
It kind of pisses me off a little bit when people... When someone says, hey, how would Ryan do against this guy? And they'll say right or left. I'm like, okay, I know where you're going with this. You're going to throw me a bone and say I'll beat them left arm, but not right,
How much stronger do you feel on your right and your left? What is your bias? When you're in the gym, is there an enormous tilt one way or not so much?
No, but stylistically, I might as well be a different arm wrestler with each arm.
Yeah. I think that's a lot of people similar to that, mate.
Yeah. It's... In the lifts, there's certain things that feel better with my left, and there's certain things that feel better with my right. Mm-hmm. Arm strength on my right arm feels better. Hand and wrist strength feel better on my left. But It's marginal, because it's not like I'm going from a weight stack and adding 20 pounds for my left arm. I'm doing the same weights, the same rep ranges, all that kind of stuff. I just seem to be more coordinated and tighter and don't have any loose points with my left arm that I may have on my right.
And yet you're right-handed.
I'm right-handed.
Yeah, that's unusual. I often find a lot of people have a different technical approach, right and left. I would say that's relatively common. Yeah. But not necessarily the coordination thing. If you're a right-handed, if you're generally right-handed and you seem to have better coordination with your left arm, that's, I would think, probably less. Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think of anybody else who falls into that same category who's told me the same. I can't really think of anybody.
Now, if you were to ask me to throw a ball with my left arm, I can't. I would hit the wall next to me. If you're asking me to do basically anything with my left hand, I can't do it. Mm-hmm. Nothing. It's there to support my right arm, whatever my right hand's doing.
What about injuries, mate? Have you had any serious injury on your right that's prevented?
If anything, I've injured my left. I've injured my left more than my right. So my left arm, my range of motion on my wrist is much more limited because I've dislocated my left wrist in an arm wrestling match, and it healed funny,
Yep.
and it took a year to actually get better. I've had the spiral fracture in this bone on my left hand.
How the hell did you do that?
My left pinky finger is actually shorter than my right pinky finger. How
did you spiral your little finger?
I got in the short version is I got in a fight with 3 guys outside of a motel in Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan, and I wouldn't stay down, so they kept stomping on my hands and feet, and by the time it was done, my hand, this finger stayed on the ground, and my hand turned over, and it snapped that bone just like you'd see in an arm wrestling match with your upper arm. But it spiral fractured that, so there's a screw holding that together. I had a broken bone in my right hand, and I had a broken bone in my left foot. And without training, 6 months later, I actually went to the national championship, was still in a brace on my left hand, and I managed a silver medal. But and that was with the right arm, with my right arm. So it was, I've got there's some stories to tell, but that Moose Jaw incident was not one of my best moments.
No, you don't need that in your life. Never a good look when you get leathered by multiple dudes.
Yeah, especially out of a dead sleep.
Yeah,
and severely, and quite intoxicated.
It can happen, Ryan. It can happen, mate. So let's move on to another topic that came up quite a lot in our questions, and this was around the pecking order of people that you want to arm wrestle. Because in a previous episode, we'd spoken about Toddzilla, the fact that you felt like that was probably going to be your likely next match. Wagner Bortolato, the Eternal. I know you've been after that. You've been sort of.
I asked for that match before that match was ever booked for WAL. I was calling for that match.
Why do you want Wagner so much? Why is what about him appeals to you? Is it just the notoriety and you think that you've got something for him, or is there something more than that?
He's an exciting character, and he's an excellent left-handed arm wrestler. And at the time, I was calling him out, was previous to the Devon match, and I actually picked him to beat Devon in that match. And I was actually surprised when Devon made it look the way he did. It was always also a thing throughout the years where I would be in the super-heavyweight division, and there's Wagner in the 110 kilo division.
Sure.
And we're going through that, and we've never actually arm wrestled. And I thought, his resurgence on social media with his crazy training videos and beating the shit out of the equipment in his gym and throwing stuff around, I thought it would be an entertaining match. And, I thought I would be able to really make something interesting happen in the match.
So if we were to look at your overall ranking in North America, okay? Left-handed. And I don't want to go down that. This is just for the purpose of the discussion. Starting with left-handed, North American ranking, where would you put yourself? Who do you think the best version of you walks into any event, or one-on-one if you want, one-on-one if you want. You tell me, super match or tournament. But let's say it's fresh super match against any and all comers, North America left arm. Who do you have as the very best?
See, there's two ways of looking at this. There's your scenario where it's 6 months to prepare and there's $50,000 on the line, or it's right now we all walk into a gymnasium tomorrow when we do it. In the gymnasium tomorrow scenario, I think I'm at the top, number one. In 6 months to prepare, then there's a conversation to be had, and the conversation is only between me and Travis Bagent. And that's it.
Very interesting.
If he's ready. So if you look at the progression, if you were to take a flip book of all the World Arm Wrestling League events, back when they had the main draw tournament, I got blown out of the water the first year. I got heavier again and came back to the super heavyweight division. The following year, I did a little better. I was in the top 2, but Travis made it look easy. The tournament, the WAL finals that never happened, I pulled Travis right over to the pin line, and he pushed my elbow off the pad and had to foul me out of the match. So it was getting closer. The gap was closing. So no matter what Travis will say, that gap was getting tighter. Cody Merritt is currently ranked number 1 by some rankings in North America. That's okay with me. Cody's been more active, but I've never lost to Cody Merritt. Now, there's some guys out there that may have something to say about it. In a week, the whole pecking order could change because we have Topi going against Merritt. We've got a couple other marquee matches.
Yeah, I was just going to say Robbie Topi and Cody are going at it very shortly, and that's an interesting one. What about Marcio Barboza?
Marcio's a match that I pulled Marcio at the World Championship back in 2010 maybe, and I think we were 1-1. So I beat him, and then he beat me, unfortunately, the way the order went. So I managed to get and it was all in fouls. We both gained a position, an advantage, and then the other guy fouled out. That's the way it happened both matches. For the first one, it went to me. The next one, it went to him. Unfortunately, between the first one and the second one, I faced Andre Pushkar, and he pushed me down to the B side. And when I lost to Marcio again, it was the end of the road, and we finished. The podium was Pushkar, Barbosa, and myself, which is a pretty damn good podium. But Marcio, I mean, he's a killer. I don't know where he's at lately. But
which version of it, isn't it? It's the big version, or if
it's
the 225,
the 225 version, or if it's the 240 version or 250 version, even. Like, Marcio's right up there, and I think people forget that.
Yeah, his speed is a real weapon. He's a handful for anyone, isn't he?
Let's
talk about, what about Devon? Lefty. Because you said you were shocked with Devon and his performance against Wagner Bortolato. And we know that when Devon's on, he's got something. How do you see that match playing out? Do you think close, not close?
With me and Devon? Mm-hmm. I still think I take the match. A different contrasting style to what he might have faced with Wagner for sure. I'm going to be trying to top roll him and use outside power and speed. Yeah. And he's going to try to be stopping it. If he does, he wins. If I hit through, I get it. So it's the thing with Devon is, he's put all those media out, said he's not training his left arm. However, he sure is doing a hell of a lot of arm wrestling for a guy that's not training his left arm. Mm-hmm. And he looks really good, actually. Like, his left doesn't seem to have missed anything. Like, he's toying around with guys like Michael Todd, he's got a couple of big left-handed matches coming up. Mm-hmm. And Devon looks incredible. And he might be the top guy. But when was the last time that Devon faced in a left-handed match myself, Cody Merritt, Robbie Topi, Travis Bagent might be the most recent guy he's faced in the Super-Heavyweight division, and that's quite some time ago.
Yeah, it is. When was that last? Was it the UAL? Maybe the UAL, where they last pulled. Because when the WAL came around, obviously Devon had dropped to the 225s.
Yeah.
So they didn't face each other there.
I mean, Devon also goes on, and he goes against Oleg Zoc and manages to win that match.
Yeah, and that's no mean feat, because Oleg venomous.
Yeah, and
very solid.
Devon could be the top guy. We need to. There's no path to establish that at the moment, but and then Devon, of course, might not be interested in the left-handed match at all.
No. Park that thought, okay? For the purpose of this and to answer the question that we started earlier on. Same question, all right? North America, right now. Best version of you, best version of the current crop of North American heavyweights. Right arm, where do you put you? And where do you put other people right now? So who's the best?
There's a lot of guys. I mean, there's so many guys to think about. Definitely in the top 10.
So you've got yourself in the top 10. So let's walk through them. And I'll throw in a starter. Let's say, I think it's hard to argue that Michael Todd is not the one at the moment, North America. I think he's probably the one world. So let's go with, if you agree.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's an easy one.
So if we park Mike first, okay, you'd have to say, what, Devon next? Got the win over Chafee?
Yeah, I would say Devon is next. There's an argument for rules.
Jerry.
Let's just go off of...
Well, Jerry's that weird fit in there somewhere as well, isn't he?
Well, those three guys are weird.
Those three guys can't necessarily see.
Yeah, it's like MMA math. Just doesn't work. So, yeah, okay, arguably Devon is number 2.
And then the other thing that complicates that Jerry conversation, okay, is Dave Chafee has an exceptional record to date against Jerry. Yet both Devon and Michael have beaten Dave.
Yeah. I'm still, I would say...
It's on Dave or Jerry, where's it going?
Dave.
If Dave Jerry beat you, so by that, you'd have to say that, okay, I'll tell you what, we'll not put them in any order, but that's those 4, right? So you've got Mike, Dave, Jerry, and Devon are there.
Mm-hmm.
Who else? Who've we then got? Right-handed.
Have you got the rankings in front of you?
Nope.
You don't, okay. Who else is right-handed?
Well, throw some names out there, okay? Travis Bagent, right-handed.
At the moment?
Let's just say, you say, okay, there's a significant sum of money available for this match, and it's 3 months from now.
Travis could be number 1. he could be number 1.
For me, the point I'm making is there. I think those names that we have just mentioned are your top 5.
Let's say those are the top 5. Now is where it gets interesting.
Yes, really interesting. And I'm going to start because is it fair to establish that this is the type of environment you'd then be thinking, okay, I'm knocking right on that door, pretty much 6th place down. Anyway, I could be okay. So I'm going to throw a few names at you then. All right?
Sure.
Tim Bresnan.
I would love to have that match back. I pulled him a number of years ago. Actually, we pulled a couple of times, and I think, man, Tim, you could almost argue that he would crack that top 5 as well on the right day. But I think Tim is a tall order, but it's a match that I would like to have again, and I think I'm competitive with Tim.
Okay. Don Underwood.
The exact same story. But it's a mystery. Don's looking good, but, within a week, we'll know where he stacks up, because he's got Todd Hutchings. Yeah,
we will. It's weird, isn't it? So, Todd Hutchings, you never put him as a super heavyweight, but the fact of the matter is that the guy's arm wrestling in that area, isn't he? So you've kind of got to, you've got to put him in there somewhere. What about Cody West, who's another big boy like yourself? How do you rate Cody West? Because Cody looks impressive, doesn't he?
Corey's a really good. He's coming up fast. He's doing really well. He's definitely part of the conversation. But in the top 10, he would be closer to 10 than he would to 5.
Yeah, so let's say we got those last 3, Bresnan, Underwood, Cody. All right?
Yeah.
Now, Cody results against Underwood. Is he just a tougher match for you than are you saying that you believe you would beat Cody?
Yes.
Okay. Don Underwood, beat him, not beat him?
Yes, beat him.
You beat him. Okay, so Bresnan, I think you were saying Bresnan's probably the favourite, yeah?
Probably.
So if we slide Bresnan in at 6, and at the moment you are sat in 7, more names coming. Ron Bath.
In the super heavyweight division? Of course, this is all speculation. Maybe 9. Maybe 9.
Okay. Bloody hell. Matt Mask. Right-handed.
We're out of spots, aren't we?
So many, mate. There's so many.
I think at the moment, I think Ron's ahead of Matt.
Ooh. So you've got Ron Bath beating Matt Mask right-handed, right?
Right now, yes. 6 months from now, it could be a completely different narrative.
Okay, here's another one for you. Wayne Withers.
11.
Robbie Burnett.
12.
Marcio Barbosa.
Ah, Jesus.
Yeah. There's some talent, isn't there? I mean, let's be right. You know what I mean?
That's a huge. That's a problem for most of those guys. See, Wayne Withers most recently beat Matt Mask. Do I think he can do it all the time? No, I don't. Do I think Marcio can beat Wayne Withers? Yes, I do. I think it's a problem for him. Just the geometry of that match for him is going to be a problem. You know, Marcio.
Can Wayne Withers beat Ron?
I'm going to say no.
Only a mix-up. Very, very, very difficult mix-up.
I'm not making any friends today, that's for sure.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to get at is just to where you sit yourself in those matches. So right now, can you beat Matt Mask right-handed?
I believe so, yeah.
Can you beat Ron Bath right-handed?
Yes.
So, yeah, so we've still got you sat, I believe, unless I've missed something, we've got you sat. Oh, Wayne Withers, can you beat Wayne Withers right-handed?
Yes.
Can you beat Marcio Barbosa right-handed?
Can I? Yes. Is it close? Yes.
Yeah. So, off that, and there is other names that could come in there, and people might be like, okay, that guy's right there as well. And that's not the purpose of this, really. In some respects, it's to understand how you do rate yourself. And I'm not going to put you on the spot much more than that, Ryan, because I think that pretty much says it. You've got yourself certainly in the top 10 guys in terms of your capability on any given day. But you're of the opinion that right now you don't sit in the top 6. You sit right around that level, just there or thereabouts outside it. So 7 to 10, they need to be looking in your direction.
Yeah.
Now, and in the last episode, we spoke about where your aspirations are and where your focus and dedication on the sport of arm wrestling has been. Realistically, timescale-wise and focus-wise, how high up that list can you go in the next 2 years? Because you've been in this sport a long time, Ryan.
Into the top 3. I believe that given the right preparation and the right time, I'm sitting right in that top 3.
What do you think you can do differently to put those additional layers on that you need, mate? Because we had a comment come in the other day, and this is where I wanted to take the interview to sort of close it off for this episode. I'm sure you are familiar with what's just gone down in Dubai, and previously went down in Dubai with Larry Wheels' channel. If you haven't seen that, guys, get over to Larry Wheels' channel, check it out, and look at that. Good things happening, brilliant amount of attention that it's bringing to the sport, but Khaled Jashel, who's been discovered out there as a raw talent. There's an enormous amount of buzz around that at the moment, a lot of people talking around it, as I know you're aware. But the comment was that, and here's a name that I'm going to throw out there for you as well, and who puts a bit of a sickener into that top 10 list that we just talked about. Eric Spotto.
I knew you were going to say that name.
Yeah, because here we go. You've got Eric Spotto, who is phenomenally strong, is an arm wrestler, an experienced arm wrestler, but has not focused on arm wrestling to date. He's always does what he does, he's powerlifting, he's bench pressing. But an enormous amount of buzz around his potential progression, okay? And at the same time, it's a conversation around Khaled and his potential progression over the next couple of years because of the fact that he's at a base level of arm wrestling experience. He's got some arm wrestling experience, but by no means is it a lot. So he theoretically should progress further and faster than someone like Eric, who's got a lot of the stuff dialed in. He's got a pretty solid understanding and a certain degree of technical prowess. So by that same token, is it not a great deal more difficult for a seasoned arm wrestler who's pretty well-rounded like yourself to progress much further? And I wanted to get your comments on that. What layers do you think you can put onto your game that haven't already been there and you haven't been working on?
Well, sometimes you need another set of eyes and a little bit different coaching. So for over 20 years, I've done this essentially by myself, figured it out as we went along. There was the odd guy chiming in to help once in a while. Mm-hmm. I have enlisted the services of Mr. Engen Terzi to kind of oversee some training of mine, actually. And I don't know if he's trained, I know he has been involved with guys like Farid, but for him to take a guy like me, oversee training, oversee preparation for matches, it's a unique challenge for him, and it's proven quite different for me. And then, of course, there's levels of strength that I haven't achieved because of preparation in certain ways that maybe hasn't been explored. I think that I've dabbled maybe a little too long in the trying to hunt the world titles and the Canadian titles, and now it's time to focus on the professional side of things. And to be honest with you, Neil, I mean, we talked about my history. There were lengthy periods of time where, and this was over a span of 20 years, where I wasn't dialed in on arm wrestling. I wanted to have the biggest bench press, and I wanted to be the best strongman, and I wanted to fight, and I wanted to be the fitness model, and I wanted to run a marathon. Like, all of those things take away from preparation in the sport of arm wrestling and make you take your eye off the goal. And before COVID hit, I had a goal, and the goal was to be in a hammer match in the World Arm Wrestling League before the end of the season. Now, the season didn't happen, but I still believe that's an achievable goal whenever things get rolling again.
Yeah, absolutely. And is that really where the selection for your match choice came, when you were calling out guys, right-handed I'm talking about, guys like Hutchins, in order to sort of, were you sort of planning out or plotting out that logical match career path in terms of, if you got a win over Hutchins, that then probably tilts you in favour of someone like Jerry, who may have been redundant for a match at that time?
Yeah. It's, those guys, Hutchins and Mask, they're not guys that I picked. They're guys that I was suggested that I might have a match with them at some point in the future by the league. Hence, they became my focus, because I also know that beating those guys is meaningful inside the league. So when those matches were suggested, I was all for those particular matches because it moves me up the pecking order in that league.
Who do you think brings you the most notoriety, Mask or Hutchins? Because obviously Hutchins has the win over Mask, but he's not necessarily as big a name. With the wider audience, Mask is a pretty big name in that respect. A very exciting arm wrestler, and
that's precisely what I was going to say. Like, one of them has a fan following, and I think the league wants that match more. If I'm being honest, just my take on things. And one of them has more notable wins and is a threat to anybody in that division. So probably equally moves me up the pecking order a little bit. Like, if I pull Matt first and I beat him, the logical next step might be the match with Hutchins.
Yeah.
Or I can pull with Hutchins, and should I be successful in that match, maybe I can call for my opponent out of the top three guys.
I personally love you and Hutchins. I think that's ace. I would really enjoy. That's a match that I just like on paper. I think that one's a bit of a fire breather. I'd love to see that go down. I really would.
It's a bit of a fast track, I think.
If you were to take a match with someone like Corey West, who right now he's on a, let's just say he's in a rich vein of form and he's attracting a lot of attention whilst COVID has been on. There's not many people that he's not done well against. Do you think or does that match interest you as much as something like the match with Hutchins? Just because of the fact that in arm wrestling circles, Corey might be a lot more dangerous than people give him credit for.
Does it interest me as much as Hutchins? No. But it interests me.
Yeah, but so just not that. I'm trying to get into your mindset of where that's the promotion of Ryan Espey goes.
Yeah, so World Arm Wrestling League, the match with Hutchins, that's where that should happen. However, there are other promotions that would be more than happy to put on the Corey West Ryan Espey match.
I can imagine there are. One of them might be quite close to you.
Yeah, and I'd be up for that.
So here's one to leave you with, Ryan, because we're getting to the end of this episode, and I know your time is short for you. You've got to get on with your day. I've finished mine. But Spotto. He comes into the league, and he comes in with a lot of, he's coming in with a bang, isn't he? Eric Spotto turns up in World Arm Wrestling League. Everybody's going to be watching that match.
Who is the gatekeeper for him? That's the question.
Yeah. Who do you put in there?
I would take that match. I would like that match. It's going to get a lot of attention, that match. I think you need to put him in there with someone, though, that might be an inside kind of grinding war with him, though. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what he's going to do against an elite top roller. I don't know. Now, if you put him against somebody like Marcio, that's a fun match. But maybe Marcio's got too much inside torque for him. It would tell the truth, that match.
Yeah, it'd be a reality check.
Yeah.
And sort of like rangefinder for if Eric goes through it. If Eric goes through Marcio, everybody's like, oh.
Yep. Yep. And Eric has said he'll take anybody.
Yeah, I think Eric will land with a bang. I think there's a couple of guys that are coming into the league, Gennady Quickvinia being another one.
Gennady looks like a freak right now, so.
Yeah, who wants that match? Outside of Jerry Caderet, who kind of asked for it. You gotta love Jerry.
It's a unique challenge. It's a unique challenge, and Jerry is a problem for anybody.
Mm-hmm. Who wins that, you think? Caderet or Quickvinia? That goes down.
I think stylistically, I think Jerry's going to win that match.
Takes some beating, does Mr. Caderet, when he's on his game, doesn't he?
Yeah. I don't think Gennady's. I don't think he should take that match. He should.
I'd have sleepless nights thinking about that, and who wins that? I don't know. I really don't know.
You should look for somebody that's more traditional than Jerry.
Yeah. That's one for me to sort of mull over in my mind and see where that goes. But Ryan, pleasure as always, mate. Thanks for your time. Really, really appreciate it. Got into some interesting stuff. And I'm sorry I put you on the spot, dude. Not sort of not intended to make your life awkward. I just wanted to try and we've got a lot of questions around that, and obviously I think in the first two episodes you did come across as, and you're a humble individual, but to put it in the nicest possible way, sometimes that doesn't get you into matches, you know what I'm saying?
I hear you.
So I wanted to try and draw out a little bit of where you see yourself seated, where you see yourself at that top table, and hopefully that might spark a little bit of interest and create some talking points for you as well. So it's on, Mother Fluffer.
Right on.
Mate, thanks very much for coming on. I want to say a massive thanks to Ryan Espey, ladies and gents. If this is your first visit to Supernatural Strength, please like, share, hit that subscribe button, get these numbers up, and until we see you next time here, take it easy, peeps.